5 things to consider to retain the legacy of the business that you've built upon selling it. So a big consideration when someone is selling a business is, how do we retain some of the goodwill? How do we retain some of the legacy, some of the impact that a business has had over its duration of ownership and success? And while there's an element of business that will change in any transaction, a lot of that core nucleus or DNA of the business, which is truly why it's valued, can be retained. I'm Arthur Petropoulos, Managing Partner here at Hillview Partners. We're a middle market, lower middle market, M&A and capital advisory firm, helping companies generating $1 million to $10 million a year in pre-tax profits to sell their businesses to secure capital. So legacy is something that we all aspire, right? Whether it's within our communities, within our businesses, within our families, that there's something that goes beyond our time here, and it's always a rewarding part of our business when all of that hard work of a single or multiple generations of a business can be retained in some shape, form, or fashion. So these are 5 ways that we really like to try to focus on that as part of the transaction. So first and foremost is the right counterparty. And so if you're going to sell your business, and if it's not going to be handed down to another generation, if it's not going to stay within the family, even if it's going to be sold to management, you need to select the right construction of the acquirer, whether it's to a private equity firm, to a strategic acquirer, to managers or management. What is the thought relative to the brand name? How is it going to be branded? Will it be absorbed into a company? Will it be company powered by ABC? How is that going to be? And to some people it matters, and to some people it doesn't matter. But if there is a desire for it, it's something that should be candidly and transparently communicated during the process. I mean, Warren Buffett, if you think of Berkshire Hathaway, is effectively, a lot of their earlier years and earlier acquisitions were primarily based on that, is that we are not going to absorb it into something larger and call it something different. We are going to call it precisely what it was called. And so if it was Nebraska Furniture Market or See's Candies, that was an element of consideration. And so one needs to weigh the importance of that. Second is the leadership transition. And so we've seen unfortunate situations with other people's deals where a company gets bought, and the day after they're bought, management or ownership is effectively just shown the door fairly unceremoniously. And so even if leadership wants to exit the business the next day, it can be done in a respectful manner that retains that legacy, and that it should be a transitioning, a handing over of the torch. That has to do with communication internally, it has to do with communication externally, but it should not be, hey, thanks guys, there's the bus stop. Things have to be done in a good fashion, and obviously the right parties are going to largely do things in the right way, but again, these things must be communicated and discussed. The third is market positioning. So let's say post-transaction, how will the business now be positioned in the market? How will it be discussed? How will it be communicated? How will sales efforts take place? And again, it all kind of circles around the right partner again, but if the business had built a lot of its value on the way that it approached people and the way that it treated customers, you want to sell to a business that's going to treat customers the same way, that ethos is not going to be deteriorated, that it's not going to be, oh, these guys used to do a really good job and now they're just pounding people over the head to buy, and the service has gone down. It doesn't matter what you do, that someone's going to say, oh, I liked the old one, oh, it used to be better. And someone's always going to whinge on about these things. But jokes aside, it still remains an important consideration as to how will the company be positioned in the market in the future. Trying to extract some of that sentiment during the exit process is important and something to be focused on as well. Now, numbers 4 and 5 deal more with stakeholders, and so the first of these is going to be community. And so if you had a business that served a particular community and was headquartered in that community, do you want the business to remain in that community? We've seen businesses sell that say you can't get rid of the factory for 10 years in this community because it's important. We've had other situations where it's less important. Other businesses, obviously, that are more virtual and don't have as big of a home base. But what is the community impact? We've had situations where companies donate to a particular church, to a particular children's organization, whatever it may be. If it's important to continue it, obviously there's ways to do it with the proceeds of a transaction, but also emphasizing how that relates to the business and how the community is helped. And these things, again, they don't necessarily remain exactly the same, but they can evolve rather than just go away. And so communicating that and indicating what's important is important. And then we'd say lastly, similar to stakeholders are the employee stakeholders. You have a whole team that helped you build this business, that helped you grow it. How do we want that to resolve, and are there opportunities to protect those stakeholders as well? The historical private equity reputation is that they'd come in and slash and burn, but I think that was a much more bloated corporate America in the 1980s. In today's day and age, talent is at such a premium that most of the acquisitions, if not all of them, people are really trying to retain talent, if not to incentivize people to stay over the long run of a business, but having that discussion is important. What's going to happen to the people? What are the plans with the people? And it can't always be perfectly managed. However, if the acquirer knows it's an important consideration, it's another thing that can be discussed. And so, as we've always indicated in our suggestions to people as to whether they hire us or somebody else, that they should always have an advisor, because there's going to be things you know you don't know, but then there's plenty of things that you don't know. And part of those unknown unknowns are these other ancillary and sundry to an extent considerations relative to legacy of a business. In that, okay, if we have a value that makes sense, if we have a structure that makes sense, if we have a transition for ownership that makes sense, how do all these other things get tackled? And at the end of the day, just like any other relationship or any other element in business, it's clearly communicating. It's telling somebody, these are the things that are important to us. How do you endeavor dealing with them? What's your plan? And to some, you're going to get a very specific answer. Oh, we're not going to fire everyone. We need them. And we're not going to move the plant. We need it. And you can say, well, for how long? And under what circumstances would you not need it? You can ask these questions, but whatever does not get discussed remains a mystery. And in business, excitement is not the goal. We don't want mysteries. We want things done. We want things done predictably. We want things done well. And that's the importance of communicating these things. And that's, in our perspective, 5 areas that you'd focus on relative to the conversation around legacy. So we're going to run those back very quickly. The first is picking the right party. The second is optimizing the leadership transition. Third is understanding the future market positioning. Fourth, it's maintaining community stakeholders. And lastly, and fifth, are optimizing employee stakeholders. So in all of these considerations and discussing all of these things, you can optimize some of the legacy considerations for exiting a business. Hope the week continues to go well for everyone. Keep pushing forward. God bless. We'll see you for next time.